A powerful duke loses his memory and starts a simple new life in a village of peasants. Before we begin this beautiful period romance story, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I love knowing where you're joining me from. The wheels left the road so suddenly that Alexander did not even have time to grab the side of the carriage. One moment, there was the jolt of ruts and the creak of wood. The next, the world tilted. Horses screamed. Someone shouted his title. Then the carriage lurched, rolled, and the air was full of splintering wood and flying dust. His head struck something hard. A flash of white, a roar in his ears. Silence. When he opened his eyes, there was no carriage, no horses, no driver, only wet earth beneath his cheek, and a grey Scottish sky above him, heavy and low. He lay still, waiting for memory to pull itself together. It did not. It broke apart, like mist in wind. He tried to move. Pain ran down his side, sharp at first, then dull. His shoulder burned, his leg throbbed, but nothing seemed broken. He pushed himself onto his back, breathing hard. Where am I? He thought. The answer would not come. He sat up, bracing a hand on the ground. Bits of damp leaves clung to his coat. His coat was fine cloth. His boots were good leather. His shirt, though torn at the shoulder, was of good linen. He stared at the cloth, as if it might tell him who he was. Nothing. He pressed his fingers to his temples. He searched for a name, a face, a house. All he found was a heavy emptiness, like a door closed from the other side. He heard a faint trickle of water, birds calling in the trees, the wind. He was alone in a forest. He tried to stand. The first attempt failed. His leg buckled. The second held. He swayed, grabbed the trunk of a nearby tree, and waited until the world steadied. "Who am I?" he said aloud. The sound of his own voice startled him. It was deep, educated, with that rolling Highland softness in it. He clung to that. Highland. Somewhere in the Scottish Highlands, then. The trees were familiar, the scent of wet earth, the distant outline of hills between the branches. But his name, his home, nothing. He began to walk. There was no path, only damp ground and roots to trip him. Each step dragged at his strength. His shoulder ached. His head felt thick and bruised. Time blurred. Sometimes he rested with his back against a tree. Sometimes he drank from a stream he found, kneeling awkwardly on the stones. Once he picked a few wild berries and ate them without tasting them. He slept when the light faded, wrapped in his torn coat, shivering in the Highland night. He woke stiff and colder than before. On the second day his hunger grew sharp. His stomach twisted. He pressed a hand to it and kept walking. He saw places where people had cut wood, old stumps, marks of axes. That gave him a direction. People meant help. People meant answers. He followed the faint signs, resting when he had to. At times his mind flickered with images, a broad staircase, stone walls, a crest carved above a great door, men bowing, a woman laughing in a room filled with light. They felt real, but they had no names. By the third day his legs shook with each step. His lips were cracked. He could no longer think of anything but water, food, and a bed that was not the hard ground. He dragged himself up a small rise. At the top the trees thinned. Beyond them he saw a patchwork of rough fields and low stone cottages clustered close together, smoke rising from a few roofs. A village. Relief almost knocked him to his knees. He steadied himself and began down toward it. The village was small. A well near the center, chickens scratching in the dirt, women carrying buckets, children chasing each other until a sharp voice called them back to chores. He stepped into their world like a ghost. His clothes were torn and stained. His hair hung loose. He must have looked half mad. The first woman who saw him stopped with her bucket on her hip. "Who's that, then?" someone called from near a cottage doorway. "A stranger," the woman replied, never taking her eyes off him. He tried to speak. His voice felt dry. "Please," he said. I need help." A man came forward, broad-shouldered, with mud to his knees. "What's your business here?" he asked. His tone was not cruel, only wary. I don't know." The words sounded foolish even to him. "I woke in the forest. There was an accident. A carriage. I remember that much." He swallowed. "I do not remember more. Not even my name." There was a murmur. The villagers shared looks. Someone spat softly into the dirt, more from habit than insult. "Not even your name," the man repeated. "You expect us to swallow that?" "It is the truth," Alexander said quietly. "If I knew more, I would tell you." Another voice cut through the small crowd, a woman's voice, firm but calm. "Leave him be a moment, Callum. Can you not see he is about to fall?" The crowd shifted. A young woman stepped forward, setting her own bucket down. She wore a plain dress and an apron damp from work. Some hair had escaped her kerchief and curled at her temples. Her eyes were what struck him first. They were clear and steady, watching him with concern, not suspicion. "Sit," she said, pointing to the low edge of the well. "If you fall where you stand, you'll crack your skull open." He almost laughed at that, but his throat hurt. He let her guide him to the well's edge. His legs trembled as he lowered himself. She drew water with quick, practiced hands and held the cup to him. "Slowly," she said. "You'll make yourself sick if you gulp." He sipped. The water was cold and clean. He closed his eyes for a brief moment as it slid down his throat. "What happened to you?" she asked. "I do not know," he said. "Truly I do not. There was a carriage. I remember it tipping, voices shouting, then nothing. I woke in the woods with this coat on my back and emptiness in my head." "What is your name?" she asked again. He searched for it. There was only a blank. "I cannot answer you," he said at last. "It will not come." She studied his face. "You do not speak like a common wanderer," she said, "and that coat is not a poor man's coat." "I gathered as much," he said dryly. "It seems I was someone of some comfort, once." That made a few of the watching villagers snort, but there was less distrust now. Pity was creeping in. The broad-shouldered man folded his arms. "Even if he speaks fine, that does not mean he tells the truth, Isla." The young woman glanced at him. "And what would he gain by lying about having nothing and no one?" she asked. "If he planned mischief, he would have invented some tale of kin and shelter." Callum grunted but said nothing more. She turned back to the stranger. "Can you stand?" she asked. "Walk a little more?" "Yes," he said. "I think so." "Then come," she said. "My mother will scold me for this, but she would scold me worse if I let a half-dead man drop in the middle of the square." "You cannot take him in, Isla," one of the older women protested. "You do not know who he is." "I know he is hungry and hurt," Isla replied. "That is enough for now." Her tone allowed no argument. She picked up her bucket, then nodded for him to follow. He pushed himself to his feet again. The world swayed, but he kept upright. As they walked, he heard the whispers behind them. "Foolish girl. Kind-hearted, that one. Mark my words, trouble follows strangers." Isla pretended not to hear. Her back was straight. Her stride was brisk. "Isla," he repeated under his breath, tasting the name. She looked at him sideways. "Yes?" "It is your name," he said. "I heard them say it." "It is," she said. "Isla Campbell." She paused. "Do you remember yours yet?" He hesitated. "No." "Very well," she said. "We must call you something." She thought a moment. "Alex, then." "It will do until your memory returns." "Alex," he said slowly. The sound stirred something inside him, but not enough to bring images with it. "Yes, that will do." Her cottage stood a little apart from the others, near a narrow strip of field. It was small, with a low roof and a door that stuck when she pushed it. Inside, the air smelled of peat smoke and soup. An older woman sat near the hearth, sewing. A boy of about 12 knelt by the fire, poking it with a stick. The older woman looked up sharply. "Isla Campbell, what have you dragged in now?" she demanded. "A man who fell out of the sky by the looks of him," the boy said, wide-eyed. "Not quite," Isla said. She stepped aside so they could see him. "I found him in the square. He says there was a carriage accident. He has lost his memory, ma'am." The older woman's mouth tightened. "Or he says so." Alex, he reminded himself, bowed his head a little. "Madam, if I meant you harm, I would not have staggered into your village half dead," he said quietly. "I ask only for a place to recover my strength. After that, I will see what can be done." "See what can be done," the boy repeated, amused. "He talks strange." "Hush, Ewan," Isla said. Her mother eyed Alexander for a long moment. "Does he have a name?" she asked. "Not that he can recall," Isla said. "I called him Alex. It is near enough, and he answered to it." "Alex what?" the woman pressed. He tried again. Nothing. It was like reaching for a ledge that was not there. "I do not know," he said. Her mother exhaled. "We have little enough as it is," she said. "One more mouth." "We have a roof," Isla said, "and he has nowhere to lie. He can sleep by the fire. He will work for his food when he is able. I will see to it." Alexander straightened a little. "I am not helpless," he said. "If you give me tasks, I will attempt them." Ewan snorted. "Can you chop wood?" he asked. "I do not know," Alexander said honestly, "but if someone shows me how, I will try." The boy grinned despite himself. "I would like to see that." Isla's mother rubbed her forehead. "I am a foolish old woman," she muttered. "Leave him there by the fire, Isla. Wash those cuts on his head before they rot. And if he steals my spoons, I will make him scrub the floor for a month." "I assure you," Alexander said, some dry humor returning, "I have no wish to own your spoons." "Sit," Isla ordered, pointing to a low stool near the hearth. "Ewan, fetch clean water and the cloths." She moved with quick efficiency. She took his coat from his shoulders and hung it near the fire to dry. His shirt clung to his skin in places where dried blood had stiffened the cloth. "Does this hurt?" she asked, touching the back of his head lightly. He winced. "Only when you press on it." "Then I will not press too much," she said. "Still, it must be cleaned." She worked in silence for a while. The warm water stung, but her hands were gentle. He watched her face as she bent over him, her brow slightly furrowed in concentration. "You have done this before," he said. "Bandaged wounds?" she asked. "Aye, in a village like this one learns quickly." She glanced at him. "And you? Your hands are smooth, Alex. No calluses, no scars from work." He flexed his fingers, looking at them as if they belonged to someone else. She was right. They were strong hands, but not roughened by a lifetime of labor. "Then I was not a farmhand," he said lightly. "That much we know." "And not a fisherman," she said. "Nor a shepherd, nor a blacksmith." She dipped the cloth again. "Mayhap you were a clerk, or a tutor, or some noble steward." The word noble stirred something in him. A broad hall, men bowing, a chair set higher than the rest. His chest tightened. "Perhaps," he said quietly. She noticed the change in his expression. "What is it?" she asked. "Nothing clear," he said. "Just a feeling, as if I have sat in important rooms before, given orders." He shook his head. "It sounds foolish when I say it." "It does not sound foolish," she said. "It sounds like a piece of truth, that is all." She tied a clean strip of cloth around his head, smoothing it in place. When she stepped back, he felt oddly exposed without the curtain of hair falling into his eyes. "There," she said. "You look almost respectable now." He gave a small smile. "Almost. Thank you, Isla." Her mother snorted again. "You thank her now. Wait until she has you carrying water from the well. You will not be so grateful then." "I intend to earn my keep," Alexander said. "So you have my word." Night fell early, as it often did in that northern year. The wind picked up outside, rattling the small window. Inside, the cottage glowed with firelight. The soup was thin but hot. They gave him a share without comment. "Eat," Isla said. "You will not regain your strength on water alone." He obeyed. The simple food tasted better than any feast he could half remember. After the meal, Isla cleared the bowls. Her mother went to her small bed in the corner. Ewan curled up under a rough blanket on a pallet. "You should sleep," Isla said to Alexander. "You are swaying where you sit." "And where will you sleep?" he asked. "On the other side of the fire, as I always do," she said. "We are used to being crowded." He hesitated. "I do not wish to displace anyone." "You displace no one," she said. "You only add another breathing body to the room. We will survive." He lay down on the pallet they had made for him near the hearth, still feeling the strangeness of being inside walls again. The warmth seeped into his bones. His eyes grew heavy. "Isla," he murmured. "Yes," she asked. "If I remember something, if it turns out I am someone of consequence, I do not wish that to change how you speak to me." She gave a short, quiet laugh. "If you are someone of consequence, Alex, you are in the wrong cottage." "I mean it," he said. "You have been honest with me. I value that." She was silent for a moment. "Very well," she said. "I will speak to you tomorrow as I spoke to you today. Now, hush and sleep. We will see what morning brings." He closed his eyes. He dreamed. He stood in a great hall, stone underfoot, banners on the walls. Men approached him with deference. Someone called out, clear and formal, a string of words that slipped away when he reached for them. He turned to the head of the table, felt the weight of expectation on his shoulders. He woke with his heart pounding and the name on his tongue. It vanished before he could form it. The next day Isla did exactly as she had promised. She spoke to him without fear, without false sweetness. She handed him buckets and told him to follow her to the well. "Hold them by the handles, not your fingertips," she said. "You are not carrying fine china." He tried. The handles bit into his skin. By the time they reached the cottage again, water sloshed over his boots. "Better than nothing," she said. "You will grow used to it." Ewan watched, amused. "He carries them like a lady's maid," the boy whispered. "I heard that," Alexander said, out of breath. "Good," Ewan replied. "Perhaps your ears work better than your arms." They laughed, all three, and for a moment the heaviness in Alexander's chest lifted. By midday he was exhausted. He had carried water, fetched peat, and tried to help mend a fence. He had failed at almost all of it, but he had kept moving. "You have spirit," Isla's mother admitted grudgingly as he stumbled back inside, "even if you have no sense." He smiled faintly. "Sense may return with my memory," he said. "Let us hope," she replied. Later that afternoon, Isla sent him to rest again while she went to the village with Ewan. She needed flour and perhaps a scrap of cloth if they could spare a few coins. He lay by the fire, staring at the low ceiling. The cottage creaked with the wind. Outside he heard distant voices, the cluck of hens. His mind circled the same questions. Who was he? Where had he been going in that carriage? Did anyone search for him? Or was he alone in the world now? He dozed and woke, dozed and woke. The light through the small window shifted, grew dimmer. When Isla returned, the air around her felt different, tighter, charged. She set the sack of flour down slowly. Her cheeks were flushed, but not from the cold. "What is it?" Alexander asked, pushing himself up on one elbow. "Did something happen?" Ewan answered before she could. "There is a trader at the inn," he said, his eyes wide. "He came from the South Road. He says there was a carriage found wrecked on the hillside." Alexander's breath caught. "A carriage," he repeated. "Yes," Ewan said. "Empty. No bodies inside, only splintered wood and broken wheels. And he says—" "Ewan," Isla said sharply, "do not shout it like a tale at a fair." "Oh, let the man hear," their mother called from the hearth. "It may concern him." Ewan leaned closer to Alexander. His voice dropped, but the words were still quick with excitement. "He says a nobleman is missing," the boy whispered. "A Highland duke. No one knows if he is dead or alive." Alexander stared at him. Sound faded. He heard only his own heartbeat. "A duke," he said softly. "Aye," Isla said. Her voice was quiet, level, but her hands were clenched at her sides. "The trader said the news is spreading through the inns. A powerful duke has vanished after a carriage wreck. No one knows where he is." Their mother crossed herself out of habit. "A duke," she murmured. "Lord save us, that is trouble for someone, sure enough." Ewan grinned. "Imagine if it were him," he said, pointing at Alexander. "Imagine if our Alex here was some grand duke who lost his mind." "Do not be foolish," Isla said, but her gaze slipped to Alexander's coat, hanging by the fire. The fine cloth, the well-made boots by the door, the smooth hands. Alexander forced a weak smile. "It seems unlikely," he said. "Yet, the carriage, the forest, the timing." Isla did not smile back. She was pale now, the colour drained from her earlier flush. "The trader said the Duke's lands are far from here," she said. "There are many carriages in Scotland, many roads, many accidents." "Isla," her mother said softly, "you heard him." The man at the inn swore it. A duke, missing after his carriage broke on a lonely road. And 3 days later a stranger stumbles into our village in fine clothes, with no name, no memory. Silence settled in the small room. Alexander looked at Isla. Isla looked at him. For the first time since she had seen him at the well, she seemed uncertain of what to do with him, not out of fear for her safety, but for something else, something larger than their cottage and their village. "Do you think it could be true?" Ewan breathed. "That our Alex is a duke?" Isla did not answer. She only glanced from Alexander's bruised face to his fine coat, then back again, while the trader's words pounded in her mind, and a single quiet thought rose up that made her stomach twist. Who have I brought into my home? Morning brought a thin grey light and the sound of rain on the roof. Isla woke early, as she always did. For a moment she lay still, listening, her mother's soft breathing, Ewan's quiet snores, the steady patter outside, and the extra breath near the hearth. Slow, deep. The stranger's, the memory of the trader's words from the night before pushed through the sleep haze. A duke, missing after a carriage wreck. She sat up and pulled on her dress. The fire was only embers. She stirred it, added peat, and coaxed it back to life. Alexander, Alex, stirred on his pallet. "Is it morning already?" he asked, voice rough. "In this house, yes," Isla said. "There is work to be done, rain or not." He pushed himself up, wincing a little. "Then I must help with it." "You will not help if you fall on your face," her mother muttered, turning on her side. "Let the man breathe." Isla glanced at her. "We have an extra mouth now, ma'am," she said gently. "He will feel better if he moves." "I will," Alexander said. "I cannot lie by the fire all day while you work around me. It would drive me mad." Ewan stretched, rubbing his eyes. "Do not worry," he said. "Isla will not let you be idle. She will have you carrying half the well before noon." "I look forward to it," Alexander said. Isla raised an eyebrow. "We will see if you say that after the first trip." She handed him a piece of bread. "Eat," she said. "You will need your strength." He took it and chewed slowly. "About last night," he began. "No," she said quickly. "Not now." He paused. "You do not wish to speak of it?" "I do," she said quietly. "But not before we have even washed our faces. Let us begin with plain things." He nodded. "Plain things, then." After they had eaten and washed, Isla placed the empty buckets by the door. "Come," she said to Alexander. "The well first. Ewan, go to the barn and see if old Morag will spare us any milk." Ewan groaned. "She always kicks at me." "Then stand where her hooves are not," Isla replied. "Go." He left, grumbling under his breath. Alexander reached for the buckets. "Show me again how you hold them," he said. "Hands through the handles," she said, demonstrating. "Keep them close to your sides, straight back. If you lean, you will spill." He imitated her. His grip already felt strained. "Good," she said. "Now walk." They stepped out into the rain. It was not heavy, just a fine mist that beaded on their hair and shoulders. As they crossed the muddy yard, Alexander glanced to the side where the fields spread out, brown and waiting. "Isla," he said quietly, "do you truly think there is any chance that trader's story concerns me?" She kept her eyes ahead. "I do not know," she said. "I have thought of little else." "As have I," he admitted. She stopped and turned to him. "Listen," she said. "If you are some lost nobleman, then someone will come looking for you. They will find you. Until then, whether you are a duke or a shepherd in disguise, you are a man under my roof who must help carry water." He stared at her, then laughed softly. "That is clear enough," he said. "Very well. Today I am only Alex with the buckets." "At the well," she said, "all are equal. The stones do not care for titles, they only bruise." They reached the square. A few villagers were already there, drawing water despite the drizzle. Callum glanced up as they approached. "The lordling carries buckets," he remarked. "There is a sight." Alexander ignored the tone. He set the buckets down with a small gasp of relief. "It is more difficult than it looks," he admitted. The woman who had first spoken in the square smiled faintly. "It always is the first week," she said. Isla nodded to her. "Good morning, Mary." "Morning," Mary replied. Her gaze slid to Alexander again. "Have you remembered anything?" "No," he said. "Only that I am clumsy." Mary chuckled. "That much is plain." Callum came closer. "So," he said, "we hear grand tales from the inn. A carriage broken to pieces on the south road. A great man missing. You would not know anything of that, I suppose." Alexander met his eyes. "I know only what you know," he said. "Less, perhaps. I do not even know my own name," Callum snorted. "Convenient." Isla stepped forward. "Callum," she said, "let him draw the water and leave him be." "I mean no harm," Callum said. "Only conversation." "Your conversation sounds like accusation," she replied. If you think him a thief, say it plain. If not, fetch your wife's water and go." A few people nearby paused to listen. Alexander felt heat rise to his cheeks. He had never liked being the center of murmured attention, though he could not say how he knew that. "I do not say he is a thief," Callum said more mildly. "Only that men do not fall from the forest without a past. Nor do they lose their memory for sport," Isla said. "Until we know more, we will assume he is what he seems, a man in need." Callum shrugged and reached for his own buckets. "As you wish," he said. "If trouble comes, do not say I did not warn you." He walked away. Mary glanced at Isla. "You have a sharp tongue this morning," she said. "Someone must speak," Isla replied, "else there will be nothing but gossip." She filled a bucket and handed the rope to Alexander. "Your turn," she said. He pulled the bucket up slowly. His arms trembled. The rope rubbed his palms. "Do not rush," she said. "Steady." He managed to bring it to the top without dropping it. Water sloshed, but the bucket remained mostly full. "Good," she said. "Now the other." By the time both buckets were full and he had lifted them, his arms shook. "Keep your back straight," Isla called. He tried. On the walk back, the water thumped against the sides, spilling over his boots. His shoulders burned. "Do not look at the ground," Isla advised. "Look ahead." "That is easy for you to say," he muttered. "Your arms are used to this." "You will thank me when yours are," she said. By the time they reached the cottage, his shirt clung to his back with sweat despite the chill. Isla's mother watched from the doorway. "He did not spill it all then," she said. "Not all," Isla said. "Only enough to wash his feet." Alexander set the buckets down with a groan of relief. "Do you wish to sit?" Isla asked. "No," he said, breathing hard. "I wish to know what else must be carried today." She studied him. "You mean it?" "Yes," he said simply. She nodded once. "Very well. After you catch your breath, we will see to the fence." "The fence?" he asked weakly. "It leans," she said. "If it falls, the neighbor's cow will eat our field bare. That must not happen." He sat on a stool for a few minutes, then followed her and Ewan to the small boundary fence. Ewan climbed on the rail. "You must lift here," the boy said, pointing, "and drive the post deeper, but mind your fingers. I smashed mine once, and Isla laughed at me for an hour." "I did not laugh for an hour," Isla said. "Only a moment." "A long moment," Ewan replied. Alexander wrapped his hands around the post. The wood felt rough. He pulled. The fence gave a little, but not much. "Put your feet here," Isla said, stepping closer. "Use your legs, not your back." He adjusted his stance. She placed her hand on his arm to show him the angle. The touch was brief, practical, but it sent a strange warmth through him. He swallowed, focused, and pulled again. The post shifted further. "There," Isla said. "Now, Ewan, the stones." They worked together. It was slow and clumsy, but by midday the fence leaned less. Alexander felt every muscle in his body protest. "You will feel this tomorrow," Isla said, wiping her brow. "I feel it now," he replied. "I had no notion living could be so heavy." She smiled. "Now you know why I sleep well at night." Inside, while they ate a small midday meal, Isla's mother shook her head. "I thought he would give up after the first bucket," she said softly. "He has more pride than that," Isla said. Alexander overheard and glanced up. "If you think pride is all that keeps me moving, you misjudge me," he said. "Oh?" her mother asked. "What else is it?" "Gratitude," he said simply. "You took me in when you had little. I would not lie here like a stone." Her mother's expression softened, just a little. "Then finish your stew, and we will see if gratitude can handle an axe," she said. The axe proved a fresh humiliation. In the afternoon, Callum let them use his chopping block. "You hold it like this," Callum said, demonstrating. He swung the axe down cleanly. The wood split with a sharp crack. Alexander took the axe. It was heavier than he expected. He lifted it, brought it down, and buried it in the log without splitting it. "There," Ewan said, "halfway." "Better than missing entirely," Isla said calmly. "Try again." He tried, the second strike glancing off the side. The axe stuck in the block. His arms vibrated from the impact. A few villagers had gathered at a distance, pretending not to watch. One of the younger men laughed under his breath. "The fine stranger cannot even chop wood," he remarked. "Perhaps his hands are meant only for lifting silver spoons." Alexander pulled the axe free with effort. "My hands will do what they must," he said. "Not without training," Isla murmured near him. "Shorten your grip. Do not swing from your shoulders alone." He adjusted as she showed him. The next attempt split the log awkwardly, but it split. "Better," she said. "Not much," the young man muttered. Callum spoke up. "Leave him be, Robbie," he said. "You were no better your first week holding an axe." Robbie shrugged. "At least I was not dressed like a lord while failing," he said. Laughter rose around him. Alexander's face heated. He felt the sting of it more than he wanted to admit. Isla stepped forward. "Enough," she said. "If you have time to laugh, you have time to carry wood yourself." Robbie rolled his eyes. "You defend him as if he were kin," he said. "He is under my roof," she said. "That is enough." Robbie's gaze flicked between them. Then he turned away. Alexander saw the way Isla's jaw was set, the slight flush on her neck. "You should not have to defend me," he said quietly, when they were alone again with the wood. "Someone must," she said. "Your memory is gone, but your pride is intact. Their words will cut deeper than this axe if I let them." He managed a small smile. "You speak as if you know me already." "I know enough," she replied. "You are stubborn. That is plain." He lifted the axe again. By the time the light faded, he was so tired he could barely lift his arms. Yet there was a strange satisfaction beneath the exhaustion. He had worked, he had failed, and tried again. He had not collapsed. That evening after supper, he sat near the hearth with Ewan while Isla mended a tear in his shirt. "Where do you think your home is?" Ewan asked bluntly. "I wish I knew," Alexander said. "Do you think you have brothers?" the boy asked. "Sisters? A horse? A fine house?" "Perhaps," Alexander said. "I see hallways and rooms sometimes in my mind, but they vanish when I reach for them." "Maybe you are a prince," Ewan said, "or a general, or a merchant," Isla interrupted, "or a farmer's son who has never lifted more than a quill his whole life. Let the man breathe, Ewan." "I only ask," Ewan grumbled. Alexander smiled. "It is all right," he said. "As you ask, I must answer as best I can. The truth is, I do not know what I am, noble or common, prince or clerk." "If you are a prince," Ewan said, "you must remember eventually. They will come with trumpets and banners. It will be like a story." "Life is not a story," Isla's mother said. "Princes do not tumble into poor cottages." Alexander looked at the fire. "I do not feel like a prince," he said quietly. "I feel like a man who does not deserve your soup." "You earned it today," Isla said. "Do not argue." He fell silent. The fire crackled. Outside, the rain eased. Days passed like this. He rose early, carried water, worked in the field, tried not to drop things, tried not to cut himself. The villagers watched, judged, slowly adjusted. Some came to tease him less and nod a little more. Others stayed wary. Rumors grew in the background. They came with the traders and shepherds, news carried by men who warmed themselves at the inn's fire and could not keep their tongues still. "A duke," one said. "I heard it from a man at Inverness. The Duke of MacGregor himself gone. No one has seen him since the accident." "His lands will be in turmoil," another replied. "Those great houses never sit easy without their master." "Some say he is dead in a ditch," a third added. "Others say he took the chance to run away from his burdens." "Would a man leave such lands?" came the answer. "No, no. He must be found." The innkeeper listened, polishing his cups. He glanced toward the door, as if expecting a tall stranger to walk in. In the village, the story twisted itself into many shapes. "He must have been wicked," one woman said, "else the Lord would not have taken him so." "Or perhaps he was kind," another replied, "and the Lord took him to spare him from worse." Ewan came home with every version. "They say he had a grand house by a loch," the boy reported one night, "with more windows than you can count. And a carriage with wheels taller than you, I'm sure," Isla said dryly. "He had horses as white as snow," Ewan continued, ignoring her. "And he could have anything he wished brought to his table." Alexander listened, his spoon halfway to his mouth. Something in his chest tightened at the thought of windows and horses and tables laden with food. "Does any of that sound familiar?" Isla asked softly. He hesitated. "There are moments," he said. "Flashes, a long table, candles, men waiting for my word. But it could be imagination. Perhaps your brother's tales are infecting my dreams." Ewan straightened. "My tales are good tales." he protested. They are, Alexander said. Perhaps too good. Isla's mother shook her head. Whether that missing duke is you or not, she said, he is trouble. Men like that do not vanish without others paying the price. And what of the men who work his land? Isla asked. They will worry. They will wonder who decides their rents now. Her mother glanced at her. You think of such things often, she said. Someone must, Isla replied. Alexander watched her as she spoke. Her concern for strangers, for unseen tenants, stirred something in him that he could not name. One evening, after a long day spent trying to help repair a neighbor's roof, he and Isla walked back from the village together. The sky was streaked with fading light. The air was cold and sharp. You walk as if you have carried stones in your pockets, she remarked. It feels as if I have, he replied. Your village is determined to kill me with kindness. She smiled. You are still standing. That is something. He glanced at her. You defend me before others, he said. You give me work. You give me soup. Why? She looked ahead, thinking. Because you were alone, she said. Because you looked lost. Because I know what it is to have few choices. He waited. She went on. When my father died, we had debts, she said. The land we worked for years was no longer ours. We had to start again with less. People looked at us and saw only weakness. I swore then that if I could ever choose between turning my back on someone and offering a hand, I would offer the hand, even if my own hand was empty. He listened quietly. Then I am glad I fell near your village, he said. You did not fall, she said. You walked. For days, you said. It felt like falling, he replied. They reached the cottage. Ewan ran out to meet them. Isla, he called. Isla, you must hear this. What is it? She asked, alarmed. A rider came to the inn, Ewan said, breathless. A fine one, with a good horse and a cloak without holes. He is asking questions. What kind of questions? Alexander asked. About a man, Ewan said. A stranger who walked out of the forest. Tall, dark-haired, speaks like a gentleman, wearing clothes too fine for a peasant. He looked from Isla to Alexander, eyes bright. He is asking if anyone has seen a man who sounds exactly like you. For a moment, no one spoke. Ewan stood between them, breathless, grinning as if he had brought home a treasure. A rider, Isla said at last. When did he arrive? Just now, Ewan answered. His horse is grey and well-fed with a proper saddle, not a ragged thing like Callum's. He went straight into the inn and asked for the landlord. Then he started asking about strangers. Alexander felt the air in his lungs turn heavy. Did anyone mention me? He asked. Ewan shifted. Mary looked like she might, he said. But I did not stay long. I ran here as soon as I heard. Isla's mind moved quickly. A stranger asking questions fit too neatly with the talk of a missing duke and a shattered carriage. Did he give a name? She asked. The innkeeper called him Sir, Ewan said. He said he was a man in service to a great house, but I did not catch more. His voice was soft, but people listened. Isla wiped her damp hands on her apron. Ma'am, she called into the house, we may have visitors soon. Her mother appeared at the doorway, frowning. What now? A gentleman at the inn asking about a stranger, Isla said. It may be nothing, but it smells of something more. Her mother looked at Alexander. If he comes, you will answer him straight, she said. No tales. You speak well enough. Let your tongue earn its keep. Alexander nodded. I have no wish to lie, he said. I know too little to manage it. Isla looked at him. Do you wish to go to the inn and meet him? She asked. Or will you wait here? His first instinct was to avoid attention, to stay by the fire and pretend the outside world did not exist. But that felt like cowardice. If he seeks me, he said slowly, he will find me. Better to walk on my own feet than be dragged by rumor. Then we go together, Isla said. Ewan, you stay with Mam. Ewan's face fell. But I want to see. You have seen enough for today, Isla replied. Keep the fire alive. If there is news, we will bring it. Her mother nodded. Do as your sister says, she ordered. They set off toward the village square. The rain had almost stopped. Puddles shone in the dirt. A few villagers lingered outside, pretending to repair tools, while obviously waiting to see what would happen. The inn's door stood open. The smell of ale and smoke drifted out. Inside, a man sat at one of the rough tables. His cloak was plain, but made of good wool, the color of dark moss. He had a neat beard and intelligent eyes that flicked over the room without missing much. The innkeeper hovered nearby, half eager, half cautious. "I tell you," the innkeeper was saying, "we are a quiet place. Strangers come sometimes, but they do not stay. Mostly shepherds and traders. No one of your description." The man smiled. "I understand," he said. "I do not expect you to search the hills for me. But if you had seen such a man, you would remember." His voice was measured, not loud, but it carried. Isla stepped inside, Alexander just behind her. Conversations dipped. The innkeeper saw them and straightened. "Ah," he said. "Isla. And your guest?" The stranger's gaze turned toward them. It rested first on Isla with polite curiosity, then moved past her and settled on Alexander. Something sharpened in his eyes. "This is the one I told you of," the innkeeper said quickly. "Came out of the forest some days back. Speaks as if he read books in his sleep. No memory, he says." Isla took him in. The man rose from his chair. He was of medium height, but he carried himself with quiet assurance. "Good day," he said. "I am James Graham. I serve in the household of the Duke of MacGregor." The name sent a small tremor through the room. Several villagers crossed themselves by habit. Others simply stared. Alexander bowed his head, though he was not sure why the gesture came so easily. "I am called Alex here," he said. "I cannot tell you more, Mr. Graham. My memory is incomplete." Graham studied him. He took in the lines of Alexander's face, the way he held himself, the injuries on his head. "How long have you been in this village?" he asked. 3 days, Isla said. "He came from the woods, half-starved, barely able to stand." Graham looked at her, then back at Alexander. "Do you recall nothing of what came before?" he asked. "No town, no road, no companions." Alexander shook his head. "Only a carriage tipping," he said. "Shouting, then the forest." Graham exhaled slowly. "May I ask to see your hands?" he said. Alexander lifted his hands. They were more blistered now than when he had first arrived, but the old softness was still there beneath the new marks. Graham turned one palm up. "These are not the hands of a farm labourer," he murmured, "nor of a shepherd or a mason. You have not worked the land all your life." Isla felt a strange protectiveness rise. "He works now," she said. "Whatever he was before, he has carried as many buckets as you in these last days." Graham gave her a brief, courteous nod. "I do not doubt his effort, Miss Campbell," she supplied. "Isla Campbell, Miss Campbell," he repeated. "I am grateful you have shown charity to a stranger. Many would not." She lifted her chin. "Many have less to spare," she said. "We have little, but we have a roof." Graham glanced back at Alexander. "May I ask," he said carefully, "if you carry any mark? A ring, a seal, some object that might have remained with you?" Alexander shook his head. "When I woke, I had nothing but these clothes," he said. "If I once had a ring, it is lost." Graham's eyes went briefly to the fine cloth of the coat, now patched by Isla's hand. "Yet your clothes are not a poor man's," he said. "No," Alexander agreed quietly. The room held its breath. Graham returned to his chair but did not sit. "The Duke of MacGregor's carriage suffered an accident not far from here," he said. "On the southern road. The carriage was found broken. The horses were recovered. But His Grace was not among the injured, or the dead. He was simply gone." A murmur rippled through the listeners who had not yet heard the full story. "It has been 3 days," Graham went on. "We have searched ditches, farms, byways. We have asked at inns. We have heard of no tall stranger who speaks like a gentleman until now." Alexander's throat tightened. "Are you saying you believe I might be this missing duke?" he asked. Graham did not answer at once. "I am saying," he replied, "that the timing is notable. Your appearance, your manner, your clothes, it compels me to consider the possibility." The room seemed to tilt for a moment. Alexander closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again. "And if I am not?" he asked. "Then I will apologize for the intrusion and leave you in peace," Graham said. "If you are, then your people have need of you." Isla watched Alexander's face. She saw the conflict there, the pull between wanting answers and fearing them. "How would you know?" she asked. "Even if he is a duke, if he does not remember, how can you be certain?" Graham looked at her with new respect. "A fair question," he said. "I have known His Grace for years. I know his voice, his stride, his habits. There are questions I can ask that only he would answer easily. There are things that will stir a memory, if any memory lives at all. He turned to Alexander. If you will allow, he said, I would speak with you alone. Or with Miss Campbell present, if you prefer. Alexander glanced at Isla. If I am truly nothing, he said, then the worst that happens is that a stranger questions me and leaves. If I am this duke, and I turn away from that knowledge, he could not finish the sentence. Isla understood. We will hear him, she said. Come to our cottage later, Mr. Graham. Let the village gossip first. It will, whether we invite it or not. Graham's mouth curved. Very well, he said. I will come at sunset. They left the inn under a cloud of whispers. Look at him now. If he is the Duke, Isla Campbell and her fine guest. Mind your tongue, Callum muttered to someone. The man from the castle hears everything. Back at the cottage, Ewan was waiting at the door, eyes huge. Well? He demanded. Who is he? What did he say? He said he serves the Duke of MacGregor, Isla answered, and that his master is missing after a carriage accident. And he thinks you are the Duke, Ewan said, turning to Alexander. Does he not? He thinks it possible, Alexander said. Ewan let out a low whistle. I knew it, he said. I said from the first day. You said he was a prince, a general, and a bandit, depending on your mood, Isla said. Do not pretend prophecy now. Their mother came up behind Ewan. Her hands were flour-dusted. What happens next? She asked. Mr. Graham will come this evening to speak with Alex, Isla said. He believes he may stir some memory. The older woman's face tightened. If he is the Duke, she said slowly, this house is too small for him. Isla's chest pinched. He has slept here without complaint, she said. It was large enough when we thought him no one. That is just it, her mother replied. We thought him no one. We gave freely. But if he is a great man, then this will all look different when others tell it. They will say we schemed. That you schemed. Isla's jaw clenched. They may say what they please, she said. I know why I opened the door. Her mother sighed. I know, child, she said, but words can still wound. Alexander felt an ache at those words. If I bring trouble to your door, he said, I am sorry. That was never my wish. Isla looked at him. You did not choose to tumble out of the world and into our well, she said. We will face what comes. The afternoon dragged. Alexander tried to occupy his hands with work, but each task slipped away. He dropped a bundle of sticks. He miscounted rows in the field. His mind kept circling the same question. Who am I? Isla worked beside him, but her thoughts ran just as fast. Once, as they straightened, their eyes met. Are you afraid? He asked quietly. Of what? She replied. Of what he might say, he said. Of who I might be. She looked away toward the distant hills. Yes, she admitted, I am. Because if I am the Duke, he prompted. Because if you are, she said slowly, you will have a life waiting for you that has nothing to do with us. The words hung between them. He wanted to tell her that even if a castle rose up behind him this very moment, he would still remember her hands on his injured head, her voice at the well. But he could not promise what he did not yet understand. At sunset, Mr. Graham came. He removed his cloak at the door and bowed slightly to Isla's mother. Thank you for receiving me, he said. I know you did not ask for any of this. We rarely ask for what fate throws at us, she replied. Sit. The stool is not grand, but it holds. He sat near the table. Alexander took a seat across from him. Isla remained by the hearth, mending, but her attention was fixed on the men. Ewan pretended to whittle a bit of wood in the corner, his ears fully open. I will be direct, Graham said. The Duke of MacGregor is a man of about your age, sir. Tall, dark-haired. His face is not unlike yours, but many men in these parts share such features. I cannot rely on appearance alone. Alexander nodded. Ask what you must, he said. Graham folded his hands. When you hear the word castle, he asked, does any specific place come to mind? Alexander closed his eyes briefly. Stone walls, he said. A high hall, firelight, but it could be any grand house. Very well, Graham said. What of the name Inverarray? Or Stirling? Alexander shook his head. Nothing. Graham tried other names, towns, rivers, lochs. Some stirred faint familiarity, but nothing sharp enough to prove anything. "This is taking too long," Ewan whispered. "Hush," Isla said. Graham reached into his coat and drew out a small object wrapped in cloth. He unfolded it carefully. Inside lay a silver brooch, simple but well made, engraved with a stag and a crown. "Does this mean anything to you?" he asked, placing it on the table. Alexander leaned forward. The light caught the metal. His heart skipped. "I have seen that before," he murmured. "Where?" Graham asked. He touched the edge of the brooch with one finger. A flash came, a cloak fastened at his throat, this very piece resting against his chest, but the image was blurred. "On a man," he said. "On a coat. I cannot see his face." Graham nodded slowly. "It is the symbol of the McGregor house," he said. "Many wear it in service. It is not proof, but it is a path." He took the brooch back and wrapped it. "Do you dream?" he asked suddenly. "Every night," Alexander answered. "Until lately nothing clear. A hall, voices, a chair at the end of a table. Since you arrived, more, but they vanish when I wake." "Dreams are sometimes stubborn," Graham said. "They yield only what they please." He sat back, studying Alexander once more. "There is another way," he said. "A name. Names have power. They can unlock what other things cannot." He glanced around the cottage. "If you do not mind," he added to Isla's mother, "I will speak a little more plainly now. It may mean much. It may mean nothing. We are past the point of delicate ears," the older woman said. "Say what you must." Graham folded his arms. "The Duke of McGregor's Christian name is Alexander," he said. "Alexander James McGregor. When I heard you had given this man the name Alex, I took it as a small sign, but it could have been chance." He looked back at Alexander. "There is one more word I have not spoken in your hearing yet. Sometimes a title speaks louder than a given name." He leaned forward, his gaze steady. "I will say this once," he said. "Listen to how it sits in your mind." Alexander nodded, his mouth suddenly dry. Graham drew a quiet breath. When he spoke, his voice was clearer, carrying a tone he must have used many times in grand halls. "Your Grace Alexander McGregor," he said. "Duke of McGregor. Do you remember that name?" The words struck like a hammer. Alexander's head swam. The small cottage seemed to swell into a vast room. For a heartbeat, he was not sitting at a worn table, but standing on polished stone. Men bowed. Someone addressed him with those exact words. He felt the weight of a heavy mantle on his shoulders, the cool touch of a ring on his finger. He gripped the table edge, knuckles white. Images rushed in, too many, too fast. A balcony overlooking water, a study lined with books. A woman's voice saying, "Alexander, you must yield." His own voice replying, "I cannot. They depend on me." "Alex?" Isla said sharply. He did not hear her. Graham watched, his own hands tightening. "Do you remember the name McGregor?" he asked again, softer now. Alexander closed his eyes. The name rang in his bones like a bell. "I know that name," he whispered, while Isla, standing unnoticed near the doorway, heard it for the first time and realized that everything between them might be about to change. Alexander's fingers dug into the edge of the table. The little cottage seemed too small for the name pounding in his skull. McGregor. His breath came short. Heat and cold chased each other through his veins. For a heartbeat, he saw not peat smoke and rough walls, but a high chamber lit by tall windows, a crest carved above a stone fireplace, and men standing with their heads bowed. Graham's voice reached him as if from a distance. "Breathe, sir," he said. "Steady. No harm will come from remembering who you are." Isla had moved from the doorway without knowing she had done it. Her hand hovered near Alexander's shoulder, not quite touching. "Alex," she said. "Can you hear me?" He let out a long, shuddering breath. "Yes," he managed. "I hear you, and him, and 1,000 others, all at once." He lifted a hand to his bandaged head. "Alexander McGregor," he said slowly, tasting the full shape of it. "Duke of McGregor. I have worn that name before." Graham's shoulders eased. "Then I have found you," he said quietly. "Thank God." Ewan sprang to his feet. "You are truly a duke, then," he burst out. "All this time you have been lying on our floor like a sack of turnips." "Ewan," Isla said sharply. Alexander almost laughed, but the sound came out strained. "It seems so," he said. If Mr. Graham is right. Graham nodded once. I would not say it lightly, he replied. I have seen you sign your name 100 times, Your Grace. I have watched you ride out from the castle yard. I have heard you argue with men twice your age and twice your size. His mouth curved a little. Even with your hair in disarray and your shirt patched by Miss Campbell, I know you. Isla's needle slipped. You are certain, she said. As certain as any man can be without parchment in hand, Graham said. The accident must have taken your memory. A hard blow, shock. It is a wonder you walked at all. Alexander turned his head, taking in the small room. The low ceiling, the hearth, the familiar faces around him. Yet when I woke, he said, this was the first kindness I knew. Isla's mother shifted, uncomfortable. We did what any Christian should, she muttered. Duke or no duke, you were half dead. Graham inclined his head. And the McGregor household will not forget it, he said. When we are settled, there will be a proper expression of gratitude. We want none of your coins, Isla's mother said briskly. We have no room for debts in this house. Gratitude need not be coin, Graham replied, but we will speak of that later. For now, His Grace must return. His steward has done what he can, but the tenants grow uneasy. Decisions wait that only the Duke can make. Alexander's brows drew together. Tenants, he repeated. Land. Yes, I remember. Law papers. Men at a long table. Arguments over rents. His gaze flicked to Isla. People like you, he said. Men and women who work the land. Their lives at the edge of a quill stroke. Then they need you, Isla said quietly. They have been waiting 3 days longer than they should. He heard the words, but beneath them he heard something she did not say. And we had you for 3 days we never would have known. Graham rose. We can leave at dawn, he said, if you can ride. Alexander flexed his sore shoulder. I can do what must be done. You should rest now, Graham said. Your head has taken enough strain. He gave Isla and her mother a respectful bow. Miss Campbell, Mrs. Campbell, lad, he said. You have done my master a service beyond price. I hope you will allow me to call again in the morning before we depart. You know the door, Isla's mother said. When he had gone, the cottage seemed quieter and louder at once. Ewan edged closer to Alexander's stool. So, he said, eyes wide, you are a duke. A real one. It appears so, Alexander said faintly. Do you have your own castle? Ewan demanded. With 100 rooms? And servants who jump when you speak? And horses that never tire? Alexander closed his eyes briefly. There is a castle, he said. Not like in your stories. The roof leaks in places. The kitchens smoke. The ledgers never balance. But it is mine. And theirs. He nodded toward the window, toward the invisible villages beyond. I think I was proud of it, and weary of it. At the same time, Isla watched him closely. Do you remember anything of your family? She asked. Parents, brothers, cousins. Parents gone, he said slowly. My father died when I was younger than Ewan. My mother not long after. A cousin helps with matters when I'm away, too eager sometimes. He frowned. He will not like that I vanished. Few men would, Isla said, but he kept your place for you. I do not yet know what he has kept, Alexander said, or what he has taken in my absence. Ewan leaned in. Do you remember us? He asked. Or will you forget us now that your grand life is back? Ewan, Isla snapped. Alexander reached out and ruffled the boy's hair. I will remember lying on this floor while you snored louder than the wind, he said. I am not likely to forget it soon. Ewan flushed, pleased, and embarrassed. Alexander's gaze shifted to Isla. And I will remember you waking me with a bucket and a command, he said softly. That will haunt me in the best way. She looked away, busying her hands with the torn shirt. It was only work, she murmured. It was more, he said. Her mother cleared her throat. Well, she said briskly, if you are a duke, you will not sleep on the floor tonight. Try the bed, I will take the pallet. No, Alexander and Isla said at the same time. Their eyes met. Something passed between them that made Isla's heart beat too fast. You will take my cot, Isla said. Ewan and I can share the pallet. We have done so before. Alexander shook his head. I have lain by your hearth like a stray dog, he said. I can do so one more night. I am used to it now, and if I sleep in your bed, Every tongue in this village will wag until Christmas." Her mother snorted. "They will wag anyway," she said. "But he is right. Let the gossip at least be false." The arrangement remained as before. That night, after the others had settled, Igla sat a little apart by the dying fire. She could not sleep. Her mind would not still. Alexander stirred on his pallet. "You are awake," he said quietly. "So are you," she replied. He shifted onto his side to see her better. The dim light traced the line of her cheek. "Isla," he said, "tell me the truth as you see it. Have I been a burden?" She blinked. "A burden," she repeated. "You eat like a man and work like a boy. That is no burden. It is a teaching." He smiled. "Then you have been my teacher," he said. "For 3 days," she said, "and now your true life calls you back. You will not need me to tell you where to put your feet when you walk into your hall." "Perhaps I will," he answered. "That hall may be colder than this one." She shrugged. "Cold stone is not my concern. It is mine," he said quietly, "or will be again." Silence fell for a moment, filled only by the soft sounds of sleeping. "When I woke in the forest," he said, "I had nothing, no name, no past, only pain and hunger. I was afraid to speak to the first person I saw." He closed his eyes briefly. "Then you walked toward me with a bucket in your hand and told me to sit before I fell. You looked at me as if I were simply a man in need, not a problem to be solved." "You were a man in need," she said. "It seemed plain." "It was more than that," he replied. "You called me Alex. You gave me a name when mine was gone. You gave me work when I might have lain useless. You gave me a kind of peace I did not know I had missed." Her throat tightened. "You make much of small things," she said. "They were not small to me," he said. "Do not take them from me with your modesty." She looked at him fully then. "What will you do when you return?" she asked, "besides sign papers and calm your tenants?" "First, remember," he said, "I will walk my halls and let them tell me who I have been. I will ask questions I should have asked long ago." He hesitated. "I will ask my cousin what he has done in my absence. I will listen to those who have less than I do." "You did not listen before?" she asked. "I thought I did," he said, "but I listened with tired ears. I had grown used to comfort, used to being served." His gaze moved around the room. "Sleeping here, carrying water, missing meals, it has torn something open in me. I do not think I can go back to being the man I was." A small, selfish part of her was glad and hated itself for it. "You will have to be some version of that man," she said. "Your people expect it." "Perhaps," he said, "or perhaps they need a different version. One who has known what it is to lift a bucket." She smiled faintly. "Will you have all your servants carry water now?" she teased softly. "I might," he said, "if only to watch their faces." Her smile faded. "They will look at you with awe," she said, "and bow, and bring you fine clothes, and call you your grace until your own name sounds strange." He heard the ache under her words. It matched his own. "Isla," he said, voice low. "When they do all that, I fear I will miss the way you speak to me now more than I can say." Her heart jolted. She stared at the embers. "You must not talk so," she whispered. "You are a duke. I am a farmer's daughter. The world is as it is. For 3 days it was otherwise," he said. "For 3 days I was only Alex. And I—" He stopped himself. "You what?" she asked, barely audible. He swallowed. "I began to care for you," he said, deeply. "More than is wise. More than I am ready to put into the right words tonight." The room seemed to shrink and expand all at once. Her breath caught. "You do not know yourself yet," she said. "You do not know what you felt before you walked into our square. When you remember fully, you may find there was someone waiting in your world. Some lady you promised to wed. If there was," he said, "I do not feel her now. I feel you." "Do not say that," she murmured. "Do not make this harder." "Harder than what?" he asked. "Than watching you leave at dawn," she said. "Knowing you will ride away and vanish back into the life that belongs to you. I prepared myself to lose a stranger when your memory returned. Losing a man She broke off. He pushed himself up on one elbow. "A man you— What?" he asked gently. She covered her face with her hands. "I am a fool," she said. "I told myself not to hope, not to feel. But I cannot lie to myself, or to you. These last days, You were more than a guest under our roof. You were—" He waited. "You were the first man who listened to me speak of rents and land and fairness without laughing," she said quickly, as if the words might burn if she did not rush them. "The first who looked at my work and did not call it easy because a woman did it. The first who made me feel seen, not just useful." She dropped her hands. Her eyes shone in the dim light. "I have come to care for you too," she finished simply. "More than is safe. More than is wise." Silence again. But it was a different silence now. Full. "Then we are both fools," he said softly, "and I would not change it." She shook her head. "You must," she whispered. "You must change it. You must put it aside. For your sake." He frowned. "For mine?" "Yes," she said. "If you return to your great house and cling to these feelings, they will tear you in two. Your people will pull one way, your heart another. You will resent them. You may even resent me. I will not be the cause of that." "You speak as if love were a trap," he said. "It can be," she replied. "When it reaches across a distance it cannot cross. You are meant to lead many lives. I am meant to hoe one narrow piece of earth. That is the truth of it." He sat up fully now, ignoring the protest of his muscles. "Isla Campbell," he said, "do you think so little of yourself that you believe you are not fit to stand by any man's side?" She flushed. "This is not about worth," she said. "It is about place. The world is not quick to forgive a duke who takes a peasant wife. They will speak of you behind your back. They will mock your children. Your tenants may lose respect. Your cousin may stir trouble. Your household may be divided." "My cousin and my household can learn," he said sharply. "They may not wish to," she said, "and the cost will fall on you and on me. No, better that this love remain here in this room between us and God. Let it be a secret comfort, not a public battle." He stared at her. "You would let it go so easily?" he asked. Tears slipped down her cheeks, surprising her. "Nothing about this is easy," she said. "But I would rather lose you now, with my heart whole in its pain, than watch you torn apart later." He reached for her hand. She let him take it. "Look at me," he said. She did. "I cannot promise you anything tonight," he said. "Not marriage, not comfort. I do not know yet what storms wait at my door. I only know this. I will not forget you. I will not forget this place. Whatever I decide, it will not be out of cowardice, but after I have seen clearly what I must fight and what I can change." Her fingers tightened around his. "That is all I ask," she said. "That you be true, to yourself, to your people, to what you felt here." He lifted her hand and pressed it to his forehead, as if in pledge. "I will come back," he whispered. "If there is a way that does not ruin you, I will find it." "And if there is not?" she asked. He closed his eyes. "Then you will have given me a gift that no title could," he said. "You will have shown me the man I might be. I will try to be him, even if it cannot be at your side." She swallowed hard. "Then go," she said. "Go and be him." Morning came pale and cold. Graham arrived with a borrowed horse for Alexander, a sturdy brown with kind eyes. A few villagers gathered, drawn by rumor and curiosity. They kept a little distance, as if unsure how close they dared come to a man who might be a duke. Callum approached with a hesitant nod. "So it is true," he said. "You are a great man after all." "I am a man," Alexander said. "The great part is for others to judge." Callum shifted. "I spoke harshly at the well," he said. "I took you for a layabout. I was wrong." "You spoke as any man would to a stranger," Alexander replied. "You owe me no apology, but if it eases you, I accept it." Callum's mouth twitched. "You do speak like the gentry," he said. "Perhaps that will not change even after all these buckets." Mary came forward with a small bundle. "For the road," she said. "Bread, dried apples. They will not compare to what you are used to, I suppose." "They will remind me where I learned to work for my food," he said. They shared a brief smile. Isla's mother stepped closer. "Your Grace," she said, trying the title out for the first time. "I have only one request to make." Alexander straightened. "Name it," he said. "If you remember this place," she said, "remember that we are not begging folk. We took you in because you needed it, not for reward. If you help this village in days to come, let it be because we are your tenants or neighbors, not because you pity us." "That is 2 requests," he said gently. "But I accept them both." She nodded once. Ewan hugged him without warning. "Do not forget to come back," the boy muttered into his coat. Alexander hugged him back. "I will do my best never to forget anything again," he said. Then there was only Isla. She stood a little apart, her hands clasped, her face calm in a way that cost her effort. He walked to her. "This is not farewell," he said quietly. "Only a pause." "It feels like farewell," she replied. "But I will pretend with you. It will make it easier to breathe." He reached into the inner pocket of his coat and drew out a small object wrapped in cloth. "This was in the carriage when it fell," Graham had said that morning. "It was found caught in the lining. I believe it was your father's." Now Alexander placed the wrapped thing into Isla's hand. She frowned. "What is this?" "A token," he said. "Nothing of great worth to anyone but me. Keep it. If ever you doubt that this happened, that a nameless man slept by your fire and remembered himself under your roof, look at it, and know I did not dream you." She unfolded the cloth. It was a simple signet ring, the metal dulled by years of wear, the McGregor crest faint but still visible. "I cannot take this," she whispered. "It is your father's, your house's." "It is mine," he said, "and I choose where it rests. I have other marks, other crests. This one I wish to leave with you." She closed her fingers around it as if it might vanish. "Very well," she said. "I will guard it," he nodded. "And I will guard the memory of your well, and your buckets." She gave a shaky laugh. "Of all the things to remember, they are the foundation of everything else," he said. He stepped back, mounted the horse with less ease than he once might have, but he managed. Graham took the reins of his own mount. "Are you ready, Your Grace?" he asked. Alexander looked down at Isla one last time. "No," he said softly, "but I will go anyway." He touched his hand to his forehead in a small salute, not as a duke to a subject, but as a man to the woman who had seen him when he was no one. Then he turned the horse and rode out along the narrow track, Graham beside him. Isla stood in the yard, her fingers tight around the ring in her palm, watching until the two figures were only shapes against the pale sky, and then only a memory walking away into a life where, she told herself firmly, she no longer had any place. Spring came late to the village. The wind stayed sharp, the ground slow to soften. Isla bent over the soil anyway, hands in the cold earth, because the seeds would not wait for her heart to heal. Ewan complained as he worked beside her. "My fingers are frozen," he said. "If I lose one, I will blame you." "If you talk less and dig more, you will finish sooner," Isla replied. Her mother sat on a stool near the doorway, mending again. "He complains like an old man," she said, "and works like a half-grown pup." They spoke about ordinary things. They did not speak about dukes. At first, the village had buzzed with talk, the carriage, the rider, the revelation. But news faded once there were fields to tend. People had less breath for gossip when they were panting from work. Still, whispers reached Isla sometimes. A trader passing through said, "The Duke of McGregor has returned to his castle. They say he is different, stricter with his steward, kinder with his tenants." A shepherd at the inn added, "My cousin rents a small plot from him. The Duke came himself to hear their grievances, sat at the same table, drank their weak ale. My cousin near dropped his cup." Mary told Isla in a low voice, "They say he refused some fine marriage plan they had for him, a match with a lady from the south. He said he had other matters to see to first." Isla listened, her hands steady. "It is his life," she said. "He must do as he thinks best." At night, when Ewan slept and her mother's breathing grew deep, she lay awake and turned the small ring over in her palm. She had tucked it into a scrap of cloth, hidden in a crack by the hearth. Sometimes she took it out just to feel its weight. "You should not hold so tight," she whispered to herself. "He is a duke. You are Isla Campbell. The world has already decided." And yet her fingers closed again around the metal. She could not make them let go. Far away in the stone house by the loch, Alexander walked his own halls as if for the first time. Graham watched him with quiet satisfaction and concern. "You remember more every day," the secretary said one evening as they stood in the long gallery. "Faces, names, the accounts. It comes back." "It does," Alexander agreed, "along with the memory of how easily I once accepted certain things." "Which things, Your Grace?" Graham asked. Alexander stared at the row of portraits on the wall. McGregor's long gone, their gazes painted steady and proud. Rents set by men who never carried a bucket, he said. Decisions made far from the fields they affect. I thought it was the way of the world. Now I am not so sure. He called his steward, Mr. Lennox, to the study. Lennox had a careful smile and fingers that lingered over ledgers. You have done much in my absence, Alexander said. I am grateful for your efforts. We did what we could, Your Grace, Lennox replied. The estate does not pause because a man falls from his carriage. No, Alexander said quietly. It does not. He opened a ledger and ran his finger down a column. These rents, he said. There are increases here that I do not recall agreeing to. Lennox cleared his throat. Times are harder, Your Grace. Prices change. We had to adjust. Did you speak with the tenants? Alexander asked. Sit at their tables? See their fields? That is not my place, Lennox said. It is theirs to pay, ours to collect. Alexander shut the book gently. It is my place, he said, and I have been away too long. He rode out the next day. He went to the outlying farms, to the cottages that leaned in the wind. He sat at tables where the bread was thin and the tea weak. He asked questions and listened, really listened for the first time in years. Some tenants were wary at first. A duke in their doorway was like a storm cloud, but when he took off his gloves and accepted their cracked mugs, the tension eased. You are different from before, one man said bluntly. Am I? Alexander asked. You were always fair enough, the man said, but you seemed far away, like you were thinking of something else when we spoke. Now you look at us properly, as if what we say might matter. Alexander thought of Isla at the well. It does matter, he said. He returned to the castle with mud on his boots and new resolve in his chest. He called Lennox again. Some of these rent increases will be eased, he said calmly. We will find the difference elsewhere. I will not wring my people dry while I sleep under 3 blankets. Lennox frowned. As you wish, Your Grace, but your cousin— My cousin advises, Alexander said. He does not rule. There were other pressures. One evening, in the drawing room, his aunt, a thin, elegant woman with a sharp eye, approached him. Alexander, she said, you are of an age to marry. The house needs an heir. You need a duchess. So I have been told, he replied. I have spoken with families, she went on. There is a young lady near Edinburgh, well connected, properly brought up. She would suit you very well. Suit me, he repeated, or suit the idea of me. His aunt waved a hand. Love grows, she said. You were not raised to follow your heart like a poet. You must think of the name, the lands, the future. Alexander thought of Isla's hands in the dirt, Isla's voice speaking of fairness, Isla's laugh when he spilled water on his boots. I am thinking of the future, he said. That is why I must choose carefully. She narrowed her eyes. You have been restless since your accident, she said. What did that village do to you? He smiled faintly. It reminded me that I am not made of stone, he said. You cannot marry a farm girl, Alexander, she said briskly, as if swatting at an insect that had not yet appeared. That sort of tale belongs in songs, not in houses like this. He met her gaze. I have not said I would, he replied. You did not need to, she said. I have known you since you were a babe. You have a stubborn streak when your heart is involved. He did not answer. That night, he stood by the window and looked out at the dark water. He thought of Isla watching him ride away, the ring in her hand. Graham found him there. You are thinking of her, Graham said. Alexander did not pretend otherwise. I am. You have a choice to make, Your Grace, Graham said. No one can make it for you. If I choose her, Alexander said, I place her in the center of a life she did not ask for. Scrutiny, expectations, unkind words. If I do not choose her, I betray my own heart. I betray what I learned in that cottage. Both roads are hard, Graham said. Alexander turned away from the window. I have been given much, he said. Land, power, comfort. If I cannot endure hardness for the sake of what is right, then I do not deserve any of it. Graham's mouth quirked. Then you know what you must do, he said. I must govern well, Alexander replied. I must correct what has been wronged. I must show my people that when I speak of fairness, it is not a passing whim. And after that? Graham asked. After that, Alexander said, I must go back to where I stopped being a duke and learn to be a man. Weeks later, on a soft morning when the clouds were thin and the air smelled of growing things, Isla was carrying a basket of laundry to the stream. Ewan trudged behind her, grumbling as usual. "It would be easier if we had fewer clothes," he said. "It would be easier if you spoke less," Isla replied. "Lift that end." They rounded the bend near the road. Hoofbeats sounded. Isla stepped aside, out of habit. Horses on their road usually meant traders or local gentry passing at a distance. She did not look up at first. Her hands were full of linen, her mind already on the cold water and the work ahead. Then Ewan made a strange choking sound. "Isla," he whispered. "Isla, look." She turned. Two riders approached from the direction of the main road. The first horse was grey, clean, but not heavily adorned. The second was brown and familiar. The man on the brown horse sat straight, the sun catching in his dark hair. He wore no cloak of heavy velvet, no chain of office, only a well-cut coat, travel-stained, and boots that had known real use. Her heart gave a wild lurch. She stopped in the middle of the track, basket in her arms, unable to move. The riders drew nearer. Graham reined in first, his face breaking into a smile when he saw her. "Miss Campbell," he called. "You have good timing. We were about to send half the village out searching for you." Isla could not answer. Her eyes were fixed on the man beside him. Alexander swung down from the saddle. He landed a little stiffly. Memories of the fall were still in his bones, but he stood tall. For a moment, they only stared at each other. Then he spoke. "Good morning, Isla," he said. His voice was steady, but there was a thread of something bright beneath it. "May I carry that for you?" She blinked, looked down at the basket in her arms, then back up at him. "You came back," she said. "I promised I would," he replied. "If there was a way." Ewan found his voice first. "You are here," he said. "In the middle of the road, like a proper visitor, not falling out of the forest." Alexander laughed. "I thought I would try a different entrance this time," he said. Isla swallowed. "We heard you were busy," she said, "putting your house in order, speaking with your tenants, refusing grand matches. News travels quickly," he said. "Gossip travels quickly," she corrected. "News limps behind." He smiled. "Then let us turn gossip into something worth repeating." She frowned a little. "What do you mean?" "First," he said, "I should speak to your mother, and to your village. I will not steal you away like a thief in a tale." Ewan's eyes went round. "Steal her away?" he repeated. "Come," Alexander said. "If I carry this basket, will that clear my past debts to your well?" She almost said no out of habit. Then she saw the way his hands reached for the handles, sure now, not clumsy. "Very well," she said. "You may carry it. You have improved since last time." He took the basket from her. The weight did not seem to trouble him. Together they walked back toward the village. As they entered the square, heads turned. Callum stopped in the middle of repairing a cartwheel. Mary straightened from the well. The innkeeper appeared in his doorway, wiping his hands on his apron. "It is him," someone whispered. "The Duke. No cloak." Another murmured. "No escort. Carrying a basket," Callum added under his breath. "Now I have seen everything." Alexander set the laundry basket on a low wall, then turned to face the small crowd that had gathered without quite admitting they had. "Good people," he said. The simple address sounded natural in his mouth. "You remember me," he went on. "Some of you knew me as Alex, a stranger who could not keep water in his buckets. Some of you know that I am also Alexander MacGregor, Duke of MacGregor. I am both men. I cannot be one without the other any more." A soft murmur ran through them. "I owe you thanks," he said. "You gave shelter to a man who had nothing to offer. No name, no past, only hunger. You gave me food and work, and more honesty than I had heard in years. You reminded me that titles do not plough fields or mend fences. Hands do, hearts do." Callum shuffled his feet. "We did what anyone would," he muttered. "Not anyone," Alexander said. "Some would have turned me away. You did not." Miss Campbell opened her door, and her mother did not close it. "Ewan annoyed me back to life. I am your debtor." Laughter rippled gently. Isla stood to one side, trying to keep her face neutral. Her heart pounded so hard she felt it in her fingers. Alexander took a breath. "I have tried," he said, "since returning to my house to be worthy of what I learned here. I have listened to my tenants. I have corrected injustices where I could. I have refused to let comfort blind me again." He paused. The villagers watched him. Even the children seemed to sense something important. "There is one more debt I must face," he said, "and one more choice I must make." He turned toward Isla. She felt 20 pairs of eyes swing with him. Her cheeks heated, but she did not look away. "Isla Campbell," he said. He did not raise his voice, but everyone heard. "I told you when I left that if there was a way to come back without ruining you, I would find it. I have thought of little else since." Her throat constricted. "You had a great many other matters to think of," she said, her voice barely steady. "I did," he agreed. "Yet every decision I made, I weighed with your words in my mind. Be true, you said, to yourself, to your people, to what you felt here. I have tried." He took a step closer. "I will not stand here and pretend the world has changed in a season," he said. "There will be those who say a duke should not marry a farmer's daughter. They will whisper. They will frown. They may refuse invitations." "I have none to give," she said faintly. "But," he continued, "my tenants will see whether I am a man who honors gratitude and love, or one who cares only for appearances. My servants will see whether I expect them to live as I would not. My future children will see whether I had the courage to follow what I knew in my heart to be right." Her breath caught at the word children. He lifted his hands, as if laying his case before them all. "I am Alexander McGregor," he said. "I am a duke. I am also the man who stumbled into this village without a name and was taught to carry water by Isla Campbell." A quiet chuckle broke the tension. He smiled, then sobered. "I cannot live the rest of my life as if those days did not matter. I will not." He went down on one knee. Isla gasped. So did half the square. "Your Grace," someone whispered. Alexander looked up at her, steady. "Isla," he said, using only her name now as if it were title enough. "I ask you here in front of those who saw me at my lowest, to be my wife, to come to my house not as a secret, but as its mistress, to stand beside me when I face councils and tenants, to argue with me when I am stubborn, to remind me of this square when I forget. I cannot promise you an easy life, but I can promise you that I will honor you, that I will listen, that I will be the man you saw in me when I had nothing." The village held its breath. Isla stared down at him, her heart tumbling in her chest. Behind her she felt her mother's presence like a wall, solid and quiet. To the side, Ewan vibrated like a bowstring. "You cannot mean this," she whispered. "I have never meant anything more," he said. "You will be mocked," she said. "They will call you foolish." "Let them," he replied. "I have been foolish before. This is the first time I'm foolish in the right direction." She almost laughed, almost cried. "You will be pulled between worlds," she said, "between halls and fields." "I am already," he said. "The difference is, with you, I will have a hand to hold while I walk between them." Her eyes burned. She blinked twice. "Isla," her mother's voice said quietly from behind her. "Child." She turned her head slightly. Her mother's lined face was wet, but her chin was lifted. "If you say yes," her mother said, "do not say it from fear or from dreams. Say it because your heart knows what it is doing." Isla searched herself. She saw days at the well, his clumsy grip on the buckets, nights by the fire, his questions about fairness. The way he had listened, truly listened, when she spoke of land and dignity, the way he had looked at her now in front of everyone, not ashamed. Her heart knew. She turned back to him. "Alexander," she said. The name felt both strange and right in her mouth. "When you left, I told myself I must forget you, that loving you would bring only pain. It did, for a time." She took a breath. "But even through the pain, I could not wish away what we had. You were the first man I could respect and dream of in the same breath." A murmur rustled around them. She continued, voice steadier now. "If you had come here in secret," she said, "whispering promises, asking me to hide, I would have refused you. If you had sent a carriage for me in the night, I would have stayed in my bed. But you came in the morning on the common road in front of my neighbors, and you knelt in the mud without shame." He smiled a little. "The mud is almost as familiar as your hearth," he said. She laughed through a tear. "Then yes," she said clearly. "Before them and before God, I say yes. I will be your wife, not as a lady in a tale, but as Isla who knows how to mend and to argue and to carry water." The quiet broke into sound. Ewan whooped loudly. Mary clapped a hand over her mouth, then clapped both hands together. Callum shook his head and laughed. "Well," Callum said, "now if His Grace raises our rents, we will know where to complain first." Alexander rose to his feet, relief and joy flooding his face. He reached for Isla's hands. "Thank you," he said. It sounded too small for what he felt, but it was all he had. She stepped closer. For a brief moment they forgot the watching eyes. He lowered his head. She lifted her face. Their kiss was not grand. It was gentle, almost shy but sure. It held days of shared labor and nights of quiet words, and the tremble of two lives about to join. When they parted, Ewan whispered loudly, "Now that is a story." And Mary smacked him lightly on the arm. The days that followed were full. There were arrangements to be made, clothes to be sewn, questions to be answered. "Will you leave the village entirely?" Mary asked one afternoon as she helped Isla with a simple gown. "No," Isla said. "We will be often at the castle, of course, but Alexander loves this place. He says he wants to walk these paths until his boots wear thin, and there is talk of improving the road, so we may travel back and forth more easily." "You will be a duchess," Mary said, "and still fetch your own water." "Sometimes," Isla said, "it will do the duchess good." Her mother adjusted a seam and stepped back. "You look like yourself," she said. "Is that disappointment?" Isla asked, half teasing. "It is relief," her mother answered. "I would not know what to do with you if you turned into someone else." On the day of the wedding, the sky was kind. The ceremony took place not in a vast cathedral, but in a modest church that sat between the village and the estate. Half the pews filled with villagers in their best clothes, the other half with castle folk unused to such company. Alexander stood at the front, his coat well cut but simple, a small MacGregor brooch at his breast. Graham was beside him, looking almost as proud as if he were the one to wed. When Isla stepped in on her mother's arm, a small gasp went through the room. Her gown was plain compared to a noblewoman's, but it suited her. Her hair was smooth for once, her hands steady. Alexander's eyes softened. He saw the woman who had handed him a cup at the well, and the woman who would now share his table. The vows were spoken without faltering. "I take you," Alexander said, "to be my wife. I promise to honor you, to listen to you, to share my table and my burdens, to walk with you in fields and in halls all the days I have. I take you," Isla said, "to be my husband. I promise to speak truth to you, to stand beside you when others stand against, to remind you of the people who depend on you, to share your bread and your sorrows, all the days I have." When the minister pronounced them man and wife, the cheer that rose sounded like it belonged to a much larger place. At the small feast after, Callum raised a cup. "To the Duke and the Duchess," he said, "may they never forget how heavy a bucket feels." Laughter and agreement answered. Alexander caught Isla's eye. "Shall we show them?" he murmured. "Show them what?" she asked, amused. "That a duke and his duchess know where they came from," he said. He took her hand and led her outside toward the well. A few curious guests followed. He picked up a bucket. She took the other. Together, with a smoothness born of practice, they lowered, lifted, and carried. "You see?" Isla called over her shoulder. "Two hands, two hearts, one load." The villagers laughed and clapped. Some of the castle servants watched with stunned faces, then began to smile. Later, when the sun dipped and the guests slowly wandered home, Alexander and Isla walked a short distance away, down a familiar path. "Are you afraid?" he asked quietly. "Of what?" she replied. "Of what comes next," he said. "Of halls and duties and eyes on you." She thought for a moment. "Yes," she said. "A little. But I am more afraid of a life without honesty." He nodded. "Then we will be honest," he said. "With each other. With our people. When I forget, you will remind me. And when I feel lost in your world," she said, "you will remind me that I am still the woman who made you spill water on your boots." He laughed softly. "I will never forget that," he said. They reached a small rise from which they could see both the soft line of the village and, in the distance, the faint outline of the castle's highest tower. Two worlds, one line between them. Alexander slipped his arm around Isla's shoulders. She leaned into him, natural as breathing. "We belong to both now," he said. "The stone and the field, the hall and the hearth." "And to each other," she added. "And to each other," he agreed. They stood there in the gentle light, a duke and a duchess who had once been only a nameless man and a hard-working woman at a well, and knew that whatever storms and seasons came, they would face them hand in hand, hearts steady, carrying the weight and the wonder of their shared life together. Thank you so much for listening to this story all the way to the end. We hope it moved you as much as it moved us while telling it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave us a comment telling us where you're listening from and what you liked the most. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give it? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like as a show of support. That really motivates us to keep creating and sharing more stories full of emotion and life lessons. And before we go, we want to remind you that an exciting and heartwarming story recommendation will appear on the final screen. If you'd like to enjoy it, just click on the video. Thank you once again for being here, and we'll see you in the next story.